If normally greed is one of the 7 deadly sins, then in this world, it is a terrifying ability. It can absorb the power of those who are eaten. Everything started from a fat otaku who was shunned by everyone in some way. He reincarnated as a slime in a world full of monsters, with the opportunity to change his life. He diligently swept everything. Unexpectedly, one day he got lost in a cave full of lizard monster corpses. No work but still eating. It ran straight to suck everything up and absorbed all these skills, such as regeneration, spitting poison, and breathing underwater. In good luck, there is bad luck. The slime meets a hero who is hunting monsters. Thinking he was the protagonist, the slime confidently thought he would defeat and absorb this NPC, but somehow, with just one slash, the hero cut the slime in half and immediately used the absolute judgment skill to destroy the unlucky slime's body. Wait a while and confirm that it has been destroyed. He turned around and left, but unexpectedly there was still a piece left. It was too dangerous just now. I have to eat something to recover. The dead warrior will be avenged later. The slime was hiding in the cave when luck came again, and a young man entered. Without anything, the young man shouted, "Who ate all my lizard monsters?" It turned out that the pile of monsters he had just absorbed was hunted by this young man and stored. But the shameless guy didn't care. He jumped into his mouth and intended to absorb him from within. Unfortunately, this young man had a stronger absorption ability. He merged with that slime. Opening the skill book, he learned that this species has many interesting abilities and especially can absorb minerals. Now he has added to himself the ability to absorb hard materials, creating armor to protect his body. This is our protagonist, Mr. Kim, possessing the ability to seize the power of what he eats. From then on, he became a famous hunter, but eventually was arrested by an undercover FBI agent. Everyone remembers this FBI SD guy because he is an important character. While on their way back to face justice, they encountered a strong earthquake. The FBI agent was informed that the car had crossed into another world. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Kim Soo broke free from his shackles and transformed himself into a monster, shocking them all. After easily killing each one jumped out and found out that he had indeed crossed into a place with 2 moons. This place is full of monsters that can use powerful skills, such as orcs, trolls, and even dragons with the power already collected on Earth. He easily defeated small monsters and absorbed them. First is the extremely thick skin of a phoenix bird that he had to use hippo jaws and shark teeth to handle. Then there was a bear with abnormally large hands, an unknown poisonous snake or not, and a deer with sharp horns like a razor blade. A day later, when accidentally killing a hunter here, he ate his brain, so he learned their language as well as his memories. Another great trophy is the monster information book that this man brought along. Trolls live in ancient forests. They are powerful monsters with terrifying regenerative abilities. A big boss troll is very angry because he can't find food for so long, so he orders his subordinates to quickly go find it. Unexpectedly, they got lost in Kim's cave. Immediately, he turned into a phoenix bird, then one hit killed the big boss with his bare hands. Self-muttering, "This combination isn't bad, but it's too strong, so I accidentally smashed this troll's head." Then another one rushed up to take revenge for his boss, then got his hand cut off along with his wooden stick. The best way to disable a troll's regenerative ability is to paralyze them. Kim Soo immediately injected it with snake venom, causing the troll to collapse. After killing all of them, he began to absorb them and seize their powerful regenerative ability, to continue his goal of reaching the top of the food chain. The next target he wants to aim for is the org species, unparalleled strength, and the dragon that breathes fire that can melt steel. Back to the present, after absorbing the unlucky reincarnated slime, he intends to eat hard metals so that he can harden the slime layer around his body. The problem is that metal crystals only grow on org territory. Opening the monster book, he found them, with a muscular body and possessing a powerful enhancement ability, thinking of a way to drive them out of the mine. Then a dragon flew by, startling him. Thanks to the memories seized from the lizard monsters, he knew it had a child. A plot flashed in his head, making him secretly happy. Light Dragon is a powerful dragon and also a great mother. Listen carefully to what your mother says here, baby. You have to be good and wait at home until your mother returns. Going outside the cave, it immediately created a magic barrier to protect and then flew away to hunt. It also wants to spread its wings freely and hunt with its mother, looking after it sadly. It didn't notice that a demon had crawled up into its cave. 30 minutes ago, Kim Soo had found the ancient dragon land according to the lizard's memory. He tried throwing a deer ahead. Sure enough, the barrier burned the deer to ashes. Searching for no way to break it, he risked touching it with his hand, then miraculously nothing happened at all, proving it had no effect on earthlings. After 30 minutes of hard work, he climbed to the top with his body glowing red, wrapped slowly from python skin combined with fangs of snails. He was suddenly surprised by the sight in front of him. Behind the trembling dragon was a whole mountain of gold. This place ate up all the minerals in the mine too much. After 3 days, Mother Dragon returned and found it strange because normally Little Dragon always came out to greet her, but now she couldn't see him anywhere. It turned out that he was lying in a corner of the cave with blood underneath. Mother Dragon frantically set up a battle plan for treatment and recovery healing. Fortunately, her martial arts were profound, so she saved her baby dragon's life. The kid just woke up and hugged his mother in fear after crying and telling her what happened. Mother Dragon learned that a thief had broken in here taking all the gold. He was described as having a red body and long fangs sticking out in this forest. Apart from those damn monkeys, there is no one else. Mother Dragon roared angrily, determined to take revenge. We will let you taste hell. The opportunist below heard her roar and knew Mother Dragon had fallen for it, so his plan to blame orgs for hurting baby dragon was partly successful. That very day at org territory there was an intense fire column that was Light Dragon rising up. The angry flame burned everything. Soldiers and elders also suffered the same fate. Screams rose up. Gathering all orgs in the forest, a battle took place for 3 days and 3 nights. Although orgs won, they also suffered countless losses. Only more than 10 surviving orgs left the ancient forest. Leaving Kim Soo with a lavish feast, this is his last meal needed, and now is time to leave the forest for conquering new lands. By pretending to be injured in the forest then losing memory, he gained more information about this place through an old merchant on the way to the village. I learned almost everything, thanks old man, but there's one thing I can't understand at all, that's the status board. It contains all the personal information that everyone here has, but he doesn't know how to open it yet. After a long journey, the old man dropped him off at the city. This place looks very bustling and clean. Strangely, people here are extremely civilized when they know the concept of bacteria and epidemics. These concepts are very common on Earth in the 21st century. Hearing the people say, it was the discovery of the second prince of the kingdom, he was the first to introduce the concept of hygiene related to epidemics. Everyone has to admit that he is a prodigy, discovering that at just 10 years old. He doubted that he was also a person who crossed from Earth to here like himself. Not long after that, he met him. Too surprised, he recognized that it was the FBI agent who had arrested him before. His name was Eddie, a member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. After failing his mission when encountering that monster, Eddie was brutally killed, but perhaps due to the influence of the multiverse shock, he did not die. After waking up, Eddie realized that he had crossed into a 10-year-old second prince named Edward. Since then, Edward has applied all modern knowledge to this medieval time, especially politics. For someone who has been well trained from his previous life, it is as easy as pie. Loved by the people for his outstanding contributions, Edward is confident that he will become the king of this world. At this time, at Count Nago's mansion, after a long day of smiling to please the crowd, Edward thought he could rest comfortably, as if not. A giant lizard climbed in through the window, causing Edward to panic, clutching his sword and preparing to attack. But when it gradually turned back into the monster hunter from before, the horrifying memory returned, causing him to faint again. Just then there was a knock at the door. It was a bodyguard. But he didn't have time to lift him back onto the bed, turned around and saw a strange bear. The bodyguard thought it was a stuffed animal, so he didn't suspect anything. He immediately pulled out a hidden knife, intending to assassinate Edward, but was stopped by him. "Now you are not allowed to kill him, let someone else die in his place." The bodyguard screamed in horror, then fainted. The loud noise was detected by the royal guards. It turned out they were also accomplices of that bodyguard, so they decided to kill both the prince and the monster. To avoid trouble, he pulled Edward along and jumped out of the window to escape and ran deep into the forest. By noon, Edward woke up. The first thing he saw was the monster hunter with a bruised face who had reincarnated and still couldn't escape this guy. The shock came again, causing Edward to faint again. He muttered to himself, "Last time I did go overboard." At this point, Edward had calmed down after Kim Soo promised not to kill him anymore. After talking like two men, Edward agreed to cooperate with Kim Soo to achieve the goal of returning to Earth. However, in the hearts of the two schemers, they both have their own calculations and only see the other side as a stepping stone for their plan. Actually, just hearing Kim Soo say someone wants to assassinate me, Edward knew right away the culprit was old Count Nago. Everything started 300 years ago when Edward the Great, the king of the kingdom, went hunting and stayed at Nago's in ingratitude for their hospitality. The innkeeper was granted the title of Count by the king, which was the beginning of the Nago family's power source, now powerful. The old man began implementing a plan to seize power by killing the princes. A panicked soldier ran up to report finding Edward as the bodyguard. Very surprised, even more surprised when the second prince voluntarily came back with a stranger. On the other hand, the count pretended to be happy and intended to go down and greet the prince but was stopped. "Arrest your army first. Last night I was assassinated by them, thanks to a secret bodyguard. My life is still intact." The count sweated coldly, glanced at the bodyguard, narrowed his eyes, pretending to be panicked, and resisted. The count carefully deceived, sure that the prince was being threatened by a kidnapper, so he falsely accused them. Edward angrily shouted, "I am the descendant of Edward the Great and the heir to his title. Do you think I would be afraid not to dare tell the truth?" The count's insulting words can be charged with treason, intimidation of the royal family, makes a narrow-eyed man scared, trembling, and falls prostrate. At this point, there was no arguing. Count decided to arrest and execute the bodyguard, considering it good. After a long journey, they safely returned to the palace, but Edward's face was extremely tense when about to meet his father again. Approaching, they knelt down to meet His Majesty, the King of the Kingdom. His face coldly congratulated the prince for being safe. Outsiders looking in knew they were having a fierce disagreement. His Majesty began looking at Kim Soo, assessing him. "I have the courage of a knight. Can I entrust this companion to me?" He looked at Kim Soo and exuded an extremely heavy aura of a king. But Kim Soo also felt normal because he had also eaten a dragon, so what else to be afraid of? Immediately, Edward spoke up, explaining, "First, he is not an object but a friend. I do not own him, so I cannot give him to anyone. Second, because Mr. Kim and I are close friends, we have sworn brotherhood in the Peach Garden and are now blood brothers." Kim Soo also understood, so he liked Edward. "I also appreciate you, great brother." After speaking, both laughed loudly, making the king very angry. Unable to do anything, he kicked the two out. Back in the room, Edward laughed loudly, thanking his brother. "Thanks to you, for the first time, I got face with that old man." Suddenly, a stranger appeared, wearing full Mysium armor, a precious resource of the kingdom. Surely he was very confused here. This is a reward for you, a special armor that has been enchanted. While rejoicing, a girl kicked the door in, looking very rushed. I heard about it. How could you behave so rudely in front of father? Immediately, Kim Soo stepped forward, not letting her brother the prince again, using the template. Do you know who my father is? She was about to call someone to execute, then Kim Soo was faster, pulled out a sword, put it on her neck, sweating coldly, not daring to make a sound anymore. At this point, Edward pretended to run over and help her up and smiled, explaining, he has no bad intentions. Now you go home, we'll talk another day. Wait for him to leave. Edward changed his face, cursed the stupid woman. She was the youngest of 3 siblings of His Majesty, one granted power by goddess. Since birth, she has been granted power by the goddess and can go anywhere she wants. Currently, she is infatuated with me. Although from the same father but different mother, how can she love her brother? She's crazy. Talking about the lineage of this princess, the first queen, after framing the second queen, was favored by the king and gave birth to the princess. Because Edward is the son of the second queen, he hates both the mother and the princess bitterly. Kim Soo wondered why Edward hated the king when the death of his mother had nothing to do with the king. This matter relates to the crown prince, but I cannot tell this story because of a promise to the goddess. Busy chatting, Edward didn't notice and bumped into someone, then fell flat on the ground. About to curse, he then realized it was the crown prince. He had completed his conquest and returned. The crown prince used to be a warrior chosen by the queen to protect humanity. But he encountered a monster capable of absorbing the power of those eaten, becoming extremely powerful. Finally, after a fierce battle, still unable to win, he was killed but resurrected into his body 10 years ago. He knew this was an opportunity the goddess gave him to start over, so he decided to hunt that monster from the egg. Finally, he thought it was that slime and defeated it with the power of the goddess. Welcome, warrior. Edward stood up respectfully, greeting his brother. This is the first time meeting, but as far as I know, the warrior title is only granted to those chosen by the goddess, meaning he will be very strong and could be a stumbling block to my plan. Crown Prince's return was an extremely important event, so everyone gathered in full at the Grand Hall. Father and son were still like dog and cat, always glaring at each other, and no one was willing to give in. Turning to the Crown Prince, he changed his face and smiled, "Welcome, warrior, back to the kingdom. We welcome you with all our hearts." He respectfully thanked his father, then went straight to the point, announcing, "Yesterday I received the power of holy light from the goddess." Just hearing that, everyone was shocked and surprised. "I have been confirmed by the Holy Lady of the Church and will go on an expedition for a week, so I want your army to support me." The king agreed with an extremely satisfied expression. But Edward was the opposite. Back in the room, he was extremely angry because it ruined all plans. He explained to Kim Soo, when the power of the holy light appears, it means demons are getting stronger and stronger, and humanity will be pushed into a dead end. As a member of the royal family, after the coming-of-age ceremony, I have a duty to fight for the honor of the nation. That damn old man will force me to go into battle. Even if I survive and return, previous negotiations will also be rejected, just as Edward feared. The next day, the king ordered him to join the warriors in exterminating demons. The second god obeys the god. This small strength can help the warriors. It is the long desire of the second god. Saying this, Edward turned his back and walked away, in the king's joy. He smiled cunningly, scheming a dangerous plan, got up on the carriage. Edward called Kim Soo, "Quickly, leave this damn palace." Inside the carriage, outside, two people chatted casually with each other but always secretly observed the soldiers outside. Edward knew the damn old man would send them to assassinate him. Sure enough, after just leaving the palace for a while, a soldier slashed straight into the back of the carriage, but it was being protected by a seal, so the sword shattered. He shouted, "Step 1 completed, moving on to step 2. Immediately, 2 soldiers flew over on both sides and then prepared to shoot 2 fireballs into the carriage. A soldier on the carriage was about to prepare to jump out but was scratched by Kim Soo's sharp claws. His face flew down onto the road, making him unable to react. Then Kim Soo cut off the connection with the horses and braked the car, making the 2 soldiers on both sides shoot fireballs at each other. At this point, Kim Soo slowly stepped out with an extremely powerful fire dragon body. Even Edward, who had seen it before, still felt scared. At this point, the 2 remaining soldiers faced Kim Soo. The fight started with a roar from Kim Soo's throat, making the horses extremely scared. Immediately, the squad leader used psychological control skills on the horse, making them obedient again. A soldier pulled out his sword and rushed forward, attacking first, but was burned by Kim Soo's red fire stream in the blink of an eye. Another spurred his horse and rushed forward, slashing at Kim Soo's shoulder, but with his iron skin body, the sword shattered. Using the power of orgs, Kim Soo easily grabbed the horse's tail and threw it straight at the other, making them flatten. Knowing they were no match for this monster, the soldiers immediately calculated their escape. Must hurry back to report this to the entire squad while running back behind. They promised to kill all to avenge the squad leader. Immediately, a column of fire blew away the one next to him, making him panic. Before he could regain his senses, he and the remaining soldier were caught by a quantum beam. Both the man and the horse. That was Edward's ability. It turned out he was not completely useless when this body was granted the power of light when just born, after a not too difficult battle. They started resting and having lunch at an inn. At this time, Kim Soo finally had time to learn more about this world. He then learned that demons are species hostile to humans from ancient times under the coordination of goddesses. The 2 races, humans and demons, always maintain hostility and balance with each other. When the balance of power tilts to one side, the goddess will create a warrior on the opposite side. However, if the gap is too large, the goddess will grant holy light to the weaker side. I think the goddess will be very fair. If the demon king succeeds in killing the human warrior, the human era will end, and the goddess will not intervene anymore. Edward sighed in criticism. All the goddesses are fools. I even know a monster called Goddess too. How happy to hear that, Prince Edward. A woman's voice from behind made him sweat coldly. He feared she had misheard because he hadn't said anything yet. Then the 2 started bickering with each other, and no one was willing to give in. Finally, the 2 challenged each other. So, Kim Soo was extremely angry because of this. If it spread out, it would be a big problem. He threw a handful of gold to bribe them not to say anything else. It must be known that a goddess is a person with innate ability chosen by a saint to grant power, like a goddess creates a warrior. They also use blessings and magic to create saints. The difference here is that warriors like the Crown Prince will be created in the blink of an eye, while goddesses take 10 years to train. Because of that expensive cost, completed goddesses will show what a perfect battle is like. They have metal bones and extremely strong muscles, like superheroes. At this point, Edward clenched his hand worriedly, not knowing if he could defeat this goddess, partly because he was the first person to discover her talent at 6 years old. Intending to keep her for training up in rank, but the priest took her away. Since then, until now, this childhood sweetheart couple always bickered like a dog and a cat. Only when Kim Soo stepped forward advised the 2 to end the fight because the warrior was about to arrive here. The goddess finally agreed to leave first. At this point, Kim Soo finally grabbed Edward's neck to vent his anger. I support you as a knight protector, not as a nanny, so don't add work for me. An hour later, finally, the warrior also walked to where they were. He did not appear while flying there nor riding a horned white horse. Looking at his appearance, he looked like an ordinary knight. After politely greeting the goddess, the warrior turned to Edward, happy to see his brother had arrived safely. Yes, the journey here was not difficult. Though there were some obstacles on the way, nothing at all. Next, the warrior turned to Kim Soo and made an acquaintance. I think this is the first time I meet you. I saw you once at the palace, but this is our first official introduction. After the two shook hands and made acquaintances, the warrior began explaining the current situation. Goddess still hasn't regained the power of holy light yet. Demon King is definitely stronger than any Demon King that ever existed. From the moment our journey begins, I cannot guarantee your lives, so will you accompany me? Immediately, Kim Soo and two others spoke up to accompany the warrior. If so, then right here, I declare the formation of the Demon King expedition team. Edward and the goddess saw the warrior seriously as if acting, making the two have to hold back laughter. Suddenly, a voice from the clock tower echoed down. I've been waiting for those words. That was a face-falling mouse-eared, sharp-toothed knight, who looked up observing. He knew he was a demon. He is one of 7 generals named Oman, given the title of Lord of Pride. Oman took advantage of the resonance of the bell, emitting a powerful sound wave spreading throughout the town, making everyone shocked and covering their ears. Damn demon! Why hurt innocent people? He laughed loudly, scolding 4 fools for falling into the demon's lair. Looking back around, everyone had turned into fierce beasts, no more humans in this village. All had sworn allegiance to the Demon King and were granted the power of werewolves. Seeing these not really strong, but with overwhelming numbers, made everyone very worried. According to Kim Soo's understanding, werewolves are low-level demons, increasing numbers by contaminating humans. Cunning demon Oman knew now he could not defeat more humans today. Just saying hello will do. Other workers in Oman pulled out a notebook, recording everyone's fighting style. First was the second prince of the kingdom. This guy has dodging ability, is very agile, and can use light magic, creating energy beams to attack. Also can create swords and shields as weapons. Next is the goddess. She has a supportive spell around her, and her fighting style is quite fierce. Most importantly, the warrior with a very traditional fighting style. Suddenly, he heard a scream from behind. Turning back, he saw a small wolf with a child's dress. He thought she was an innocent girl. But no other way, he held his sword, cut off the wolf's head. Oman carefully recorded for a while. He intended to put away the notebook. But he thought, weren't there 4 guys? Thinking he saw a figure, Kim Soo had circled behind for some time. I am the 7th Demon King, cannot be defeated. Immediately, Kim Soo cut off his head. The warrior now looked carefully. He realized the demon was close to the Demon King. The warrior introduced him to everyone. He is known as Pride, and this is the first time I see him. Edward frowned, wondering if he managed information, meaning he also had quite a lot of authority. So why use weak werewolves? Isn't he too subjective? Could it be that demons are preparing strong forces to fight another enemy? Kim Soo looked at the wolves, and his appetite rose again. He couldn't help it, because eating these demon wolves would increase compatibility, preparing for bigger prey. Kim Soo turned back and saw Edward looking tense at the demon Oman, looking very worried. He thought he also wanted to eat that demon general. At this point, only the two Edward began analyzing with Kim and agreed that a demon holding all important information being easily defeated showed internal change. Kim Soo suddenly realized maybe a third party from Earth reincarnated here, and he was in the ranks of demons, sweating coldly. Edward acknowledged this possibility. Listen carefully, my friend. If there really is a third person in the demon kingdom, then this will be a good opportunity to deal with the warrior and Nico. Just a clock sound, everyone had cleaned up corpses of demons, gathered them into a burial pond. This was Nico's idea because the law could not be violated. I send unlucky souls who have lost their lives to people. Although a hostile relationship has transformed their bodies, their souls are still intact, innocent children of people. After a prayer ceremony, the warrior was lucky, the carriage was not damaged in the recent battle. But Nico asked who was driving, then a problem arose. After pushing for a while, the proud second prince had to be the carriage driver for everyone. The reason was that Kim Soo and Nico didn't know how to drive, while the warrior had a principle not to control anything for his own benefit, sat on the carriage for a while. Edward and Kim Soo started discussing the upcoming plan in Russian, so the two in the carriage couldn't eavesdrop because it was a plan to assassinate the warrior. Killing a knight is not simple. Qualities of a warrior: only the most honest, upright, and kind people are qualified, simply using swordsmanship. Qualities of a knight: only the most honest, upright, and kind people are qualified, but if they lose those qualities, they will be punished, and that is our opportunity to act. Saying so, but Kim Soo asked how to trap the warrior, then Edward didn't know. Just let everything happen naturally. Hearing two outside talking, he finished his head. Nico also peeked out but was scolded by Edward right away. We're talking in sign language, how can you understand? Want to know? Use your flat brain yourself. Now it's Kim Soo's turn to cover his ears when this childhood sweetheart couple bickered all the way on the long journey until they couldn't stand it anymore. He went inside to let these two kids chirp outside. As soon as he stepped in, the warrior asked why he was guarding the second prince. As soon as he finished speaking, suddenly he hugged his heart, frowned in pain because he had violated the warrior's principle not to be biased. But he explained enduring pain like this was worth it, a brother worried for his brother, and a brother trying to kill his own brother. Interesting to repay that honesty. Kim Soo said truthfully being a bodyguard for the second prince was a contract. If he was safe, then he would find a way to fulfill my wish. The warrior guessed it was conquering the Demon King to get a reward. Then they exchanged a lot about that reward. After 2 days and nights, they arrived at a fortress located on the edge of the kingdom. After resting at a tavern, the warrior immediately asked for permission to go around to help people here. While the nun went to the temple to pray before leaving, she didn't forget to tease the second prince not to do anything stupid. Glancing at her, Edward chased her away quickly. After waiting for two people to leave, Kim Soo told Edward about information about the reward when conquering the Demon King. But I just found out that the goddess will fulfill the wishes of all participants. Sounds easy. Edward immediately downed a glass of wine, then laughed happily. I can feel it, my friend. I'm drunk, drink as much as you like because I used to be a professional hunter. Kim Soo respected the principle of never drinking alcohol while working. Suddenly, Edward frowned, hugged his stomach, screamed in pain, then vomited all over the place. Damn guy drank too much. But looking back, everyone was dizzy, collapsed down. Kim Soo panicked, and knew right away there was something in the beer. While Edward's face began changing, muscles bulged, looking extremely scary. The warrior was outside helping people finish work. A farmer bowed his head, thanking the warrior. You really are a great warrior. You really are like the rumor, damn retard. Suddenly the farmer looked up at the warrior with a transformed face full of killing intent. He immediately reacted and activated combat mode, holding the sword tightly, about to rush forward, but he stopped him. No need to be surprised, we already know everything about you. All the people around started introducing in unison, we are the 7th general of the Demon Kingdom. Remember this greedy Lord Paris name. The warrior was surrounded by people in the town. He realized this was not a resurrection technique nor puppet control technique. You're also quick. I've released parasitic worms into all water sources around. They grow around the body and control the host's mind. Those infected cannot disobey my orders. In other words, these are just ordinary residents controlled by me, like people. They can't approach me without killing them. Will you be able to break the warrior's principle to get to where I am? After saying, he laughed loudly, while the warrior was extremely angry. Unbelievable, he even knew the principle not to harm people. The warrior immediately looked up at the roof, intending to climb up for a better view, but it was too late. All three companions were being controlled by the demon, held there. Even the goddess was stuck, didn't know if she drank beer or what. Looking down at the confused warrior below, he laughed loudly, threatening to show him what pain is. Immediately, the demon-controlled Edward swung his arm intending to commit suicide, but Kim Soo was faster, disabled both Edward's legs and arms at the same time. He grabbed the goddess's neck until she fainted, making the demon very surprised. Kim Soo hugged the two, jumped down, then handed them over to the warrior, watching the two of them. "I'll deal with this bastard," he continued, entering the farmer, intending to speak. Then Kim Soo gave him a slap, flying head with his hand. The warrior immediately stopped him. "They're just people being controlled, so you can't do that. They're ordinary residents controlled by me, like people. They can't approach me without killing them." He started creating pressure by controlling people opposing that killing action, but Kim Soo didn't care. He smiled, thinking it was good because no one would remember who killed them in the blink of an eye. Kim Soo rushed straight into the crowd and bathed their blood with his powerful demon hands. Too horrified, he stopped Kim Soo quickly. He promised not to control anyone anymore and obediently returned to the kingdom. The demon listened very convincingly. He casually crushed the head of another resident, creating pressure, making him reveal his position. "The more I go this way, the more people stop me. I think I know where you are." As he thought, Demon Paris was standing on that wall from afar, controlling everyone. Too panicked, scared, sweating coldly. He hurriedly cursed stupid warrior, then jumped out, intending to fly away but too slow. Kim Soo had caught the demon, then slammed him hard against the wall. Looking at the warrior's greedy eyes, Demon Paris stuttered nonsense. "Don't come here anymore, monster." Indeed, Kim Soo was also a monster. These demons possessed great skills he didn't have, so he decided to digest it right now. Greedy Lord Paris couldn't imagine he would lose so miserably. "I put parasitic worms in the water and control everyone. No creature can live without water, even if they are not infected. I just need to control their teammates. The battle always ends tilted towards me before it even starts. These damn guys, even if they are knights, he still seriously injures his teammates. I will use the strongest control concentration. I will crush the little endurance you have." Calculations done, he actively jumped straight into Kim Soo's mouth, then slowly crawled in, causing him great pain. Demon Paris confidently would become a parasite inside Kim Soo's body and control him from within. But, not as he thought. The deeper he went, the faster the demon was digested. He had disappeared completely. Outside, Kim Soo was still confused by his suicidal action just now. Testing his new ability, Kim Soo put his finger to his mouth, bit hard, and cut off the tip of his finger. Then he spat it on the ground. Immediately, the wound healed back due to Demon Chu's regeneration skill. The other finger was transforming into a small fish, very clear. Now he can separate and control parts of his body. However, there is a size and duration limit. But if I eat a set of unified creatures, maybe I will develop this skill further. Below, people began to wake up and didn't know what had just happened in the horrific battle. No one remembered. At this time, at the Demon Castle, they couldn't believe Paris had died. All experiments and parasitic samples of gluttony had gone extinct. Besides old values, he really fits to be one of the 4 heavenly kings. There's a crazy guy who just killed people under his control. Just found his position, then killed him. That damn knight who went with the prince, a court demon, was very worried because gluttony died. Besides the 4 heavenly kings, there are only angry demons left, but the Longhorn demon was still confident. That knight is not an opponent of anger. That demon specializes in dealing with large numbers. So using it to deal with the Human Alliance forces would be more effective. After the battle, the warrior team continued to move forward. The childhood sweetheart couple was still chirping outside, but inside the carriage, the atmosphere was very tense because the warriors kept looking at Kim Soo angrily. "Kim, they're just being controlled. If it's you and your skills, wouldn't you save more people?" Kim Soo immediately retorted, "The new enemy is a controller and a killer." The warrior saw Kim Soo speaking soberly and didn't feel any guilt. Unbelievable, such a knight would be the prince's bodyguard. This Kim Soo guy is like a demon and has extremely twisted thinking. Confused before this, the companion suddenly stopped the carriage, making the warrior wake up and turn to ask the second prince. Then he saw Edward's face pale, scared, and stuttering. Because in front of everyone was a huge, scary creature with consciousness. It introduced itself as Reikos, the Lord of Anger. "I came to avenge my longtime comrade, Lord Paris." As he spoke, he advanced with each step, creating an extremely strong earthquake. Nun and Edward widened their eyes, scared when they heard him call his name, making Kim Soo curious. Indeed, Edward knew this demon before, but only read about it in books 50 years ago. There was a giant monster attacking this kingdom, on its back were demon warriors, its body even bigger than a dragon. Kim Soo had eaten dragon meat, so he didn't find it strange. Looking at this demon, it seemed even more than 5 times bigger. It is said that reptiles grow continuously throughout their lives. If left for long, they will become a threat. Nun hurriedly spoke, urging everyone to quickly find a way to kill the monster, then babbled after not finishing her sentence. Then on the right side of the carriage, something was pulling up all the grass and rushing over. That was Reikos's tail. The huge body of it was extremely agile. When it turned around to create momentum for its iron tail, it aimed straight at the carriage. Everyone didn't react in time, they just sat and watched the match with unbelievably surprised faces. In just a moment, the carriage was shattered, nothing intact. The demon's tail had destroyed everything in its range, everything had disappeared. Suddenly, from under the ground, there was an explosion. It was 4 warriors. They were still alive and crawling up, only the second prince pretended to be too deep to see the nun die below. Anyway, this demon Reikos was also very polite, not attacking anything else while they were rearranging their formation. Surprised when facing such a powerful enemy, they still didn't know how to deal with it. Another sweep made everyone jump up to dodge, but only the nun was quick enough. The 3 men fell. The nun hurriedly called the second prince to use a shield to protect everyone, scolding as if crazy. Because that small shield couldn't withstand those attacks. Edward then turned to his brother, suggesting using the Paris skin skill, but the warrior shook his head because it was too risky. Turning to the goddess, he asked her to shield first and then gradually recover later, but this idea was still not feasible because, in order to recover, one must survive. Just one hit of that would be enough to disintegrate. Finally, after pushing for a while, they turned to the silent guy, making Kim Soo confused, thinking, "I can fight that demon." They were still silent, looking at him as if knowing the answer. Kim Soo had to admit that there was still a way. The demon, at this time, looked at the human pack extremely angrily. It would never let go of this grudge, even if it was a powerful demon. But, in one battle, it had carelessly been hit secretly and left a big scar on its body. After many battles, it had drawn the perfect tactics for itself. The first step was scouting the number of enemy troops, then sweeping the surrounding area so the enemy had no place to hide. From here, if they could approach, they must immediately stop because only when they attack from Lisa's side, the thick skin and self-defense skill would be invincible. On the warrior team's side, they also agreed with the tactics Kim Soo proposed. Immediately, the brave man held his sword tightly, determined to win at all costs, and took momentum to jump up. The warrior trusted the goddess's holy sword to fully exert its power when facing evil demons. If not for the holy sword, but just an ordinary sword, his anger would be wanting revenge. Fast as cutting, the demon continuously shot its tail towards the warrior. Although it could guess the warrior's movement direction to attack, he was too fast, step by step. The warrior had approached and continued aiming straight at the demon's head. He immediately planted his hind legs on the ground, took momentum, and then jumped up, creating a huge force on the tail, hitting the ground. In this posture, very promising in the circus, indeed. The warrior was thrown far away, but not hit directly, due to the huge wind from the tail hitting the ground. Looking at the defeated warrior, Demon Reikos scorned, not expecting his comrade Paris would lose before these humans. Now it's time to end everything. It was about to concentrate all its strength into the final move. Suddenly, the warrior shouted, "To this extent is enough for the battle plan to succeed perfectly." Returning 5 minutes ago, then Kim Soo started presenting a strategy, going underground to fight the demon Krakos. The brave man will go ahead and distract him while I approach from underground and aim for a scar on his stomach. The digging ground will still make noise, so it may attract his attention. I must have bait distraction and I need 7 minutes. Immediately, the warrior believed without any doubt, because among the specialized skills of a brave man, there is a skill called lie detection. Kim Soo smiled secretly. Indeed, at this time I didn't lie, but even if I bragged, no one would know because all skills in this world are ineffective with Earth people. Returning to the present time, Kim Soo had successfully dug up the demon Reikos from underground. He finished 2 minutes earlier because he possessed the muscles of a troll demon, a super strong physique, and dragon claws. Now his entire arm had turned into a dragon arm, so no matter how thick the skin was, dragon claws could cut through it. Immediately, Kim Soo took momentum and poked a hole straight into its scar, then crawled in, making blood splatter. Kim Soo stepped inside the demon turtle's body. It was like a huge cave. Immediately, Kim Soo called out the demon's parasites, letting them spread throughout Demon Reikos' body. Just a moment later, they transmitted news from all organs, heart, lungs, blood vessels, and brain. Kim Soo praised, "These parasitic monster worms are really convenient, they even have some memory when knowing this demon is its friend." Kim Soo smiled cunningly, "Friend's skill, killing, then really brothers." Kim Soo suddenly received a stronger signal than all, making Kim Soo pay attention. It was reported from the stomach position. Kim Soo stepped forward, twisted out his dragon hand, and began digging through the layer of flesh, looking extremely disgusting. After enduring the smell of the monster for a while, Kim Soo had dug a big hole and discovered inside was a buffet party. With greedy eyes, he had another opportunity to use his overbearing food inspection skill. Outside, the turtle monster kept screaming in pain, sweating like bathing. It kept begging for mercy. The 3 people looked at the monster like that, were extremely surprised, and didn't know what Kim Soo was doing. Among them, the warrior began to sympathize with the monster when seeing its eyes roll up, tears pouring down to the limit, it fell down, creating an earthquake shaking around. It had completely fainted. Choosing the position of its eyes rolling continuously then exploding from there, Kim Soo jumped out with an extremely cool posture. All over his body was a bloody smell, making the 3 companions speechless. Furthermore, the warrior team continued the journey, but this time they had to walk because the carriage was shattered. Another change was the atmosphere was extremely tense when the warrior and nun kept peeking at Kim Soo. He also felt this strange thing and unconsciously asked Edward and learned that because of the previous battle, he was too scared. Kim Soo didn't understand why they were like that, but whatever. What he cared about was the food just now, although it wasn't as valuable as a giant dinosaur, but the same size muscles of the troll demon were still stronger. As for skin, combining this skin with dragon skin he received made his skin thicker and firmer. But not everything is disappointing. On the contrary, he received more things. First is the lungs of the giant dinosaur. Its lungs became a strong muscle block. Because to nourish a huge body, it needs a lot of oxygen, and the deeper it breathes, the stronger it exhales. This lung will help Dragon's breath become fiercer. Second is the blood vessels. The bigger the body, the more difficult it is for the heart to pump blood to nourish the body. Arteries and veins are densely arranged on organs like the heart at an equal distance. Now even if the heart is destroyed, blood can still circulate, and the biggest harvest is this thing. Thanks to him, now I can fly up. At this time, at the Demon Tower, a tense atmosphere also enveloped here when they received news that the turtle demon had been killed, but strangely they weren't angry. Even though the force now only has 4 heavenly kings, everything still follows the Devil King's plan. Clearly, the warriors are about to attack this demon tower we have destroyed. The village must eradicate the root before the warriors cause more damage to us. Their meager efforts have been enough to deal with the remnants of ancient times, and the warriors will think they have killed the key soldiers of the Devil King. Isn't this too convenient and the deal is over? Now it's time for humans to be exterminated. In this war, humans just need to cut off the Devil King's head to win. On the other hand, the demon race either has to make humans extinct or make them surrender. But as long as warriors exist, they will never surrender. Moreover, warriors are the strongest people protected by the goddess. Finally, to win, the demon race's only way is to exterminate humans. If so, instead of letting warriors die at the hands of the Devil King, why don't we make humans extinct a little earlier? That's what the great new Devil King said, absolutely loyal to our emperor. Following that, all demons shouted in unison, absolutely respecting the emperor from our other world. Returning to the warrior team, they had now reached a very far place and were surprised when they saw a mountain in front of them being destroyed. Kim Soo guessed it was the work of the turtle demon. It had run through here and crazily destroyed everything. Suddenly, 2 demons appeared in front of Kim Soo, threatening. Accordingly, dozens of demons immediately surrounded the warrior team. For a while, they started holding weapons tightly and rushing in. Indeed, although only demon captains, their speed cannot be underestimated. When it slapped one on Kim Soo's face, that blow was just a mosquito bite. He just needed to slash with one sword. Double kill, knocking down 2 at once. On the side of the 3 others, they also easily defeated the little demon captains. Observing a bit, he noticed a poisonous scroll hidden in the demon captain's body. After finishing the meeting in a secluded place, Kim Soo showed it off. It was a map of Edward Tang Khan's kingdom. The demon race's surveying skill is really at its peak. Everyone, look at this position, all roads lead to the main road and converge at one point. And this point has a road passing through all battles. From there, we can see that this is a map used to support something. The warrior was very happy, hurriedly stood up, and called the whole team. According to the map, they immediately went to kill the Devil King. But they were stopped by Edward. Wait everyone, look, there is another suspicious point, but it is the end point of a road. The nun guessed it could be an important barracks of the Devil King. The warrior looked into it and felt that this place was definitely an important area. Let's go there and explore how. A week later, they had set foot in this village. Looking from afar, they already saw 2 columns of smoke rising thickly. Getting closer, they felt that this place was like a factory making something. All the women and children had been turned into demons, working hard on very difficult jobs. After exploring, they learned that it was weapons that immediately drew swords out. Edward helped everyone quickly rush up and destroy everything here. Immediately, a warrior stopped him because these were innocent people. After 7,749 hours, 2 brothers argued because their worldviews were completely different. One side thought people here were helping demons make weapons to kill humans, while the other side didn't think so because they were being forced, deafened to all ears. Kim Soo ignored everything, drew his sword up, and acted alone, leaving 3 people confused, not knowing how to act reasonably. Just when they thought it was over, they began flooding the entire village. At the same time, bloodstains became increasingly red. Kim Soo's armor was more than just armor. It took a few minutes, but he had completed his work with a sore body. Turning back, he saw the warrior was extremely angry, as if blaming himself. The saint was depressed, witnessing the scene of young demons dying. Edward was busy taking care of the saint, truly useless. Edward stepped forward to pick up the weapon they were making, which was an improved 47 gun, used for 8mm bullets. The warrior heard the two talking to each other, but didn't understand anything. However, with this smile, he knew for sure they had realized something. That's right, I think. The demon kingdom is luring people to fight. We just need to guide them, let people know how to use this type of gun, and then they can also meet the standards to become soldiers. Hearing this, the warrior clenched his fists, angrily shaking his body, and then turned his face and walked away. A moment later, Edward heard a loud noise in the forest. The trees in that area were all blown away. He smiled to himself because everything was going according to plan. Approaching the forest, the recent shocks were due to the warrior constantly smashing trees, as if venting his anger. In his heart, he was confused, not knowing what to do when facing the people who were being manipulated by the demons. In Stockfit Port City, unmanaged by the demon kingdom, this place is famous for being a bustling area with countless merchants and workers. All are demons. Midden, a demon boy, is also one of them. He is an orphan child, trying to work hard to support his younger sister, Myron. Today, Myron started a new day of work again. He was still very hard-working, carrying a giant dragon above his head without noticing. It was Kim Soo transformed. He had started targeting this area but was new to flying, so his speed was a bit slow. The brain is an organ that is speculated to exist in dinosaur bodies. Nerve impulses transmitted in an oversized body will take a long time. So to support the movement of the body from the waist down, they have a brain at the waist called a secondary brain. Because he absorbed the secondary brain of a turtle demon, now he has completely mastered the body of a fire dragon and can freely spread his wings and fly up. Currently in midair, so except for the brain, his entire body can now be transformed. Lizard's sticky skin is completely compatible with dragon skin, which helps lungs and blood vessels become stronger. At the same time, the spleen and blood vessels have the regenerative ability of dwarf demons. Muscles bulge and are strong like orb demon muscles. Kim Soo secretly rejoiced that he was about to become the strongest creature. Immediately he blew huge amounts down below, making the demons extremely panicked. While everyone was scared and running away, then the little demon stood still, because for the first time it saw this scene, suddenly remembered that its sister was still at home, quickly ran back. Then immediately, the dragon landed in front of the little demon, destroying its sister's rented room where she was staying. Smoke and dust gradually dissipated, then little demon saw its sister's arm and candy, shattered in a pile of bricks. It screamed in horror, then rushed towards it with its sword, tears of anger running out. The little demon must kill this damn dragon. Screaming out loud, it stabbed its sword straight into the dragon but couldn't stand it. Solid armor, sword along with its hope immediately shattered. The little demon then fell unconscious on the ground. Kim Soo chose to attack here because he knew this place was an important base for demons according to maps. Although knowing that ports like this will help disadvantaged children have food to eat, he told himself that this has nothing to do with him. Continuously spitting out huge columns of fire, Kim Soo gradually turned this place into hell. Hours after Stockfit Town was sealed off, demons immediately held an emergency meeting to investigate that it was caused by a dragon according to destruction speed. Then it breathed out at least 50 breaths of fire in an hour. The most important thing now is how to deal with the plan. Rumors about Stockfit spread throughout the demon kingdom in just one night, and the dragon has become a fear for neighboring areas. If the 4 heavenly kings or 7 great demon generals intervene to soothe this fear, it will boost the morale of the demon kingdom. Demon Natri immediately agreed. We must let people know the strength of our demon kingdom. After attacking many areas, all multi-ethnic demons such as cattle demons and insect demons were destroyed. At the same time, Kim Soo has collected a lot of new powers, and the goal of standing on top of all creatures is getting very close. In another area, the demons just saw the shadow of a dragon and were sweating profusely because they knew it was stock-fit dragon. Run fast. Immediately, the biggest mouth was crushed by Kim Soo. That is Kim Soo's ultimate goal, which is to trample on other creatures, inhale a breath to fill his chest with huge lungs. Kim Soo blew a huge breath of fire, burning all buildings and demons within an incalculable range of damage. Demon Natri immediately arrived at the scene of destruction. According to reports, it was discovered here at this post an hour ago. Getting closer, Natri was extremely confused when she saw only ashes in front of her eyes. It had only been an hour, but it was already like this. The demon gradually landed on the ground and saw the dragon eating the remaining corpses. Thinking that this vulgar guy is really disgusting, but looking back, his body is really strange. Immediately using dragon voice, Natri proudly said that this was her new move to suppress dragons from acting according to her will. The chicken screamed loudly, stopping the dragon. Indeed it stopped, but only because it was surprising. Dark-faced with anger, she didn't understand why it didn't work on this strange dragon. Gradually the demon's hand began to transform, growing larger and larger, hair and claws began to sharpen, loud teeth rattled behind, making Kim Soo curious to turn around. In front of him now is a dragon twice as big as himself. In an instant she had grown her body to this size, truly a very strong opponent. Roaring loudly, it started aiming straight at Kim Soo's face, punching continuously making him very difficult to defend, constantly attacking, until 10 minutes later it stopped. Unbelievable, it had endured all my attacks during that time and still stood firm. On this side Kim Soo started analyzing, seeing that his opponent had very strong muscles, even so, not strong enough to destroy armor.